Dan Perry is a former regional editor of the Associated Press. He served as chairman of the Foreign Press Association in Israel. Joins us from Tel Aviv. Great to have you with us. So Israel's been responding to these very dramatic turn of events in Syria in a rather offensive manner. I mean, it's destroying most of Syria's military capabilities. Its ground forces are crossing into Syrian territory around the Golan Heights. What is its intentions?
Well, I think Israel is simply very, very nervous about the possibility that a jihadist regime would emerge on its border and end up being hostile to Israel. My own sense is that they were very opportunistic in making sure that Syria's military was pretty much eviscerated. You can see that as an offensive and aggressive move. I think it reflects Israel's fear that what comes after Assad will in fact be more aggressive to Israel than Assad was. We can't discount that fear. The issue, the fact that Israel moved into Syria on the ground, obviously is also on the edge. But they're very clear, I think, in stating that this is temporary, an effort to make sure their border is secured during the interregnum between Syrian governments. And they've also reached out to the new authorities in Syria, although no one's sure who exactly they are, claiming Israel wants peace. I think things would have been quite different if, the Free Syria Army had taken over in Damascus. The nice liberals, the liberal rebels who are wanting the democratic secular Syria for all Syrians and who have been talking even about peace with Israel. But I think much of the world is nervous about what's happening in Syria, and Israel's actions need to be seen in that context, whether or not you think everything it did is justified. I would note that there is, internationally speaking, an ambivalence about the fall of Assad. Now, this is truly remarkable because Assad was a butcher and he ran a horrifically despotic regime and one that was unfriendly to the West. So you'd think there would be celebrations, but there aren't, simply because the world is so afraid of jihadism and of Islamism and everything that happens, from Israel's actions to even events in Jordan, where Blinken is now discussing how to impact the future in Syria, have to be seen in that light.
Well, what would Israel like to see in Syria now? What sort of government would Netanyahu be happy, or as happy as he could be, to see there?
Well, Israel would want to see a government in Syria that is both democratic yet somehow non-Islamist, because the paradox in the Middle East is sometimes democracy is inconvenient to the West and to Israel because jihadis get elected. So for sure, in their wildest dreams, they would like some force like the Free Syria Army to be in charge in Damascus and to have a regime that is both democratic and pro-Western and not antagonistic to Israel. I don't think they're going to get that. So the more realistic option might be that, Ashara's statements that he is no longer allied with al-Qaeda and that he wants a Syria that is for all Syrians actually turn out to be not just rhetoric, but real, and that what emerges in Syria is somehow democratic and pro-Western.
I mean, some would say, or some are already saying that...
As a coalition that includes HTS, sure, but everyone else, and doesn't go around hanging Alawites and doesn't force Christians and Armenians and Shiites to flee the country into Europe, creating further destabilization. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts here, and the West and Europe in particular have a major stake in what
there are a lot of moving parts. I just want to get one more question in, because some are saying that much of the potential destabilization is coming from Israel with the bombing campaign that it's conducting over so much of the country, not taking into account at all its sovereignty. Some are saying that Israel's being opportunistic by pushing out of the already occupied areas into the buffer zone. Do you not see Israel, or does one see Israel as being a source of instability in itself?
Well, it clearly could. I mean, if it emerged that Israel is being untruthful when it says that what it's doing on the Syrian side of the Golan is purely temporary, and it became a long-term action that looks aggressive, that would be potentially destabilizing. It would be most unfortunate, because I think Israel has a very big stake in sort of projecting friendliness to the new authorities in Syria. So the current the current actions, if the emerge is genuinely coming from a place of caution, could potentially help, because I think the world is rather celebrating that Israel has taken out Assad's chemical weapons abilities, for example, because no one wants them falling into the hands of the likely new regime. But if it turns out that Israel actually projects in a long-term aggression towards the new authorities, despite perhaps its intention to be defensive, then obviously that could destabilize. I would hope that the situation that emerges in Damascus is one that is sufficiently reasonable and non-aggressive that it enables Israel to reach out. Because I certainly do know that the people in Israel have no aggression towards the people of Syria and would like to have a stable democracy that is not unfriendly on their borders. It sounds fantastical, but I know that it is the desire of most Israelis.
OK. Dan Perry, many thanks indeed for taking the time to join us from Tel Aviv.